I live at Gorge River, which is in the Cascade Forest, South Westland. I was born in Tauranga. I lived in Auckland for 10 years. I lived in Brisbane for 10 years, travelled the world and ended up at Gorge River. But it took a while before I actually found this part of the world. I was tramping through here about 32 years ago. I fell in love with this area and I decided to live here, and I've been living here ever since. I first met Catherine when I'd been living here for about 6 or 7 years. Her and another friend were coming on a tramp up through this area, so we all tramped together, and then a couple of years later she decided to come and live here. Then we eventually had a family. This place is very isolated. Because I wanted to come and live somewhere like here, it meant that there weren't many people here. I've always been a very social person, went to all my parties and had a good time. I didn't actually come here to get away from people, I came to get away from people telling me how I was supposed to live.
There we go. A couple of powers.
I don't think many people realise what it's like having to live in an isolated area. It's really hard, but it actually helps to sustain you in the end. For me, it's been character building, sticking it out and following your path. My dream was always to have a female companion living here with me and raise a family. Every day I'd just pray that that would happen, you know. Luckily it all worked out. Oh yeah, tea time. She's got me shaved and shorn and every other thing, so.
It wasn't my plan to live like this, but oh, I like it. You certainly need inner strength. Really, you have to learn not to complain too much. I did at first, and I think a washing machine would still be pretty high up the list.
Silver bit.
You learn to be happy with what you got.
When I was living here in the early days, I had pretty much no money and just lived off the land. If you wanted to go to a shop, you'd have to travel 70 or 80 miles. You know, I'd carry supplies back from the shop, you know, for a week sometimes. We can catch yellow-eyed mullet, kahawai in the river mouth, and we can catch whitebait in the whitebait season, and also eels, catch possums or rabbits, and also there's bush tucker as well, like superjack shoots and fern tips and seaweeds and things like that. The first 10 years I lived here on my own, I didn't worry if I ran out of food. There'd always be something to catch around here, and it wasn't until the kids came along I had to be a lot more serious about it, because I didn't want them going hungry. They had their parents 24/7. That's what we gave them. We gave them our time. That's what's going to last, because you've given them your time. The first thing I thought when I saw Kristen, when he was just a baby, one day this guy is going to go and do his own thing, so I better start getting used to it now, you know. I grieved for those 17 years, knowing that one day he was going to do his thing, and same as Robin. He decided to go to Mount Aspiring College in Wanaka for his last year, and he actually just announced to us, and he said, "Oh, Mum and Dad, I've booked into Mount Aspiring College. I just did it on the internet. I just thought I'd let you know." And I said, "Oh yeah, okay." So when Robin decided that, you know, we already knew that she was going to follow Kristen's footsteps. Kristen said to us, "I want the internet because I want to be able to communicate with the outside world, and if I go, so that you can communicate with me." It is good to be able to communicate definitely with your children. It's also a distraction. You know, it can take up people's whole day just dealing with stuff. In the early days, I didn't communicate with the outside world. But yeah, so there was a whole decade went by where I just got on with my life. I didn't have the radio either. Somebody left an old transistor radio here and I started listening to it. For the last 3 or 4 years, we're actually in communication with anyone, anywhere in the world.
This is a lovely old British fur sewing machine, and Robert rigged it up to one of the kids' bikes from when they were small. I'm going to sew the two together for a cushion cover.
To maintain an establishment in the middle of nowhere, it relies on your input the whole time. I do my paintings, I do my carvings, I spend my time possuming. So my time just disappears. Some people think I live down here and you don't do anything, but how can you support 4 people in the middle of nowhere by doing nothing? It just doesn't even make sense. Once I had family, all my time has just been channeled into being productive. I was just typically doing this sort of stuff, you know, making carvings and simple pendants and dolphins and stuff. This is my daughter's dolphin. She said, "Dad, I want you to make me a dolphin, but I want to find the stone." Made this for her as a gift for her 13th birthday, I think it was. So it was all done by hand. That lives here. As time has gone on, I got solar power. Now I've got 8 panels on the roof, and I'm using diamond tools and wheels and stuff, and get a bit more work done. But I used to, you know, I always loved doing this work. Every 6 months, I finish a batch of paintings and carvings, and we go to town. When I go away from here, it's like I got like an umbilical cord to here. You know, people think they got to go everywhere, see everything, do everything. You can do that when you're young, but as time goes on, then you're better off putting down roots and becoming part of a place. One of the greatest things I've enjoyed in life is actually being connected to an area. You just feel like you're sustained by it, you know, and you become connected with where you live, with the people who are there. You form relationships with your wilderness, your environment, you know, your whole surroundings. So I don't really feel like living anywhere else. I would prefer to spend my days living here or in this area as long as I'm physically capable.
I was born in Greymouth, but my mum and dad were here in Westport. It's a great place to bring up kids. It's a good family place. Working at the mine, they treat you all the same. Male, female, doesn't matter. The boys treat me like one of the boys, and that's how I want to be treated. I'm in a man's world up there. I don't want to be treated any differently. Sweet, I'm happy with it. When they offered the training program, it was like, let's do it. They got the job, got the opportunity to training. That's where I am now. I came from hospitality, and a friend of mine said, why don't I give it a go? My son Blake thought it was great. He just thought it was the bee's knees. Mum's going to be driving a big truck. I've been up here for 2.5 years now. It's awesome. Mining is the West Coast. It's life. West Coast is mining. And it's being part of it as a woman is like even better. Hospitality, nah. This beats hospitality. I'm married to Steve, who's a fisherman. He's been a fisherman all his life. He comes and goes. Usually it's 2 weeks on, 2 weeks off. Fishes out of Greymouth. Been married 13 years. When we decided it was time to get a family pet, the kids wanted an animal, so it was deciding what we both liked. The only one we could agree on was a husky. It started growing up, chasing chickens and chasing stock, until we actually knew about them. We found out what they need. Then it was like, oh, it needs to be run, it needs exercise. Exercise is a big thing. It needs a mate, it needs a friend. Once we got another dog and started knowing other people, that's when we started getting into racing. So it went from 1 dog, 2 dogs, 3 dogs, 5 dogs, to 7 dogs.
You want to go for a run?
You want to go for a run? They just want your attention. They just want to know that they're loved. Come here, Kato. But yeah, harnessing up and racing them, they need to be exercised. When they run, they want to run. It's the Arctic breed of them that make them run. It's just like they're a wolf in some ways. We had the New Zealand champs in Christchurch. It's reasonably big. There was something like 120-something entries. Yeah, it's not about winning. It's just the pleasure and the enjoyment of it. It is a family sport. It involves everybody. My kids are at the age now where they want to run them. Steve, he never had a hobby until he had a dog. Come on, Vince. Let's go home. Let's go. Let's go. All our dogs are rehomes. If we didn't take them, they would have been put down. Puppy. So they actually call us the House of Rehomes. This is Blaze. Your Dee. She was a rescue home. People get them because they're pretty, and then they don't want them once they start getting into trouble. Yeah, and then they just ditch them. First-time breeders. Roxy, she's a good runner, so we thought we'll have a go with breeding, and this is her first time. It's been fun. It's been really good. Having more, I don't want any more, but probably Steve would have more. Steve bought a trailer that fits 16 dogs in it, but I said to him, don't think you're having 16 dogs just because you can fit 16 dogs in your trailer. What do you do when they get old? You're going to have dogs that don't want to run anymore. You can't just put them down. They're like your children. You've got to have them for the rest of their lives. These puppies in a couple of weeks are ready to go to new homes. Do I want them to go? Am I going to let them go? I have to. But yeah, dogs are cool. From going to not having them to having them, couldn't be without you. He's done me. Without the dogs now, no. How's that, Jethro? Where's? Hey?
I ended up in Hokitika 6 years ago when I accepted a position at Westland High School as a drama teacher. I have a passion for the theatre, musical theatre specifically, but at the same time I also wanted to have a family and be able to spend time with my family. So teaching seemed like a really good way to marry the two things up together.
We will actually put the photos inside.
Doing this show in Chicago at the moment is a great way for me to do things that I enjoy as part of my job. It's a really important thing that I want to pass on to kids here on the West Coast, to have opportunities to connect with theatre.
Hi, my name's Joe, and I work at a button factory. One day, my boss said to me, he said, Joe.
It is a community production. We've evolved. It's also good for the students to see what adults can produce. It is at a slightly higher level, and it's certainly more focused. And the kids being able to see that and aspire towards that is a really good thing.
Are you busy? I said yes!
Some of the students have never done a single thing before.
All that jazz, Nicole and Laura.
If I can get them doing one thing in their time at school, then that makes me really happy.
Honestly, it makes me really upset. You've got less than 24 hours to get it together. This isn't a ballet, this is a musical. When you're on stage, open your goddamn traps and sing.
Told.
Last. Not last.
They've worked bloody hard. It's been probably about 15 weeks of working really, really hard. So I actually got to the point where I was a wee bit worried that they might peak, because, you know, you kind of hit a peak and then people start to get a bit silly or sloppy or whatever. So my fingers are crossed. I'm married to Karen. I'm really lucky to have married a woman who is so supportive and so good to me. As a baby face, obviously the years have not been kind. Karen's choreographing the show. She's a fabulous dancer in the first instance, and she produces outstanding choreography. Are you good? Karen will go in and teach them choreography, and then come home and I go in and do blocking.
Hello, Maddie.
Sometimes I sit there and I think, how do we make this work, Karen and I, with 3 kids, you know, being busy with shows. We kind of pass in the night during the rehearsal process.
I've actually got some here. Do you want me to stop on by and drop them on my way to the theatre?
I'd like to think that I'm the kind of father that will be there for my kids.
Well, shall I call past anyway?
I want my kids to grow up knowing that their parents are proud of them.
Well, do you want them for tonight or do you want them for another night?
My mother's never been very good at telling me that she's proud of this or that or whatever else.
He doesn't want them for Wednesday now anyway. He wants them for Friday.
I'll keep telling them every time they make me feel proud. There are a few days that go by where I don't actually take time to think of how lucky I am. Where are you sitting? I do affectionately refer to my kids at school as my whānau away from my whānau at home.
Is Max up at the table?
Yes.
Brilliant.
And that really is how I feel about those kids. They're just like extended family, really.
Do you want a drink?
I'd be thrilled to see someone achieving at the absolute highest level. Someone standing there on a podium with an Oscar in their hand or whatever.
Do you want... No, don't put peas in your milk.
I'd love to hear them say, you know, and I'd like to thank my drama teacher way back in Hokitika for encouraging me to try. And I would quite proudly strut about saying, I knew him or her whenever they were how old and doing whatever. That would be a real kicker. Do you want some more? Come on.
I first started doing theatre when I was in primary school. Nick is really fun to work with. He's a really good director. I like working with him. My family's been more than encouraging. My grandma always came and watched my shows, and every opening night I'd have flowers just sitting by my dresser. She was the president of the Operatic Society in Greymouth. Yeah, she passed away in rehearsals about a few weeks ago, and she loved watching me do shows. She'd always be so proud of me when I finish a show and I come out, and she's standing there in the crowd, and yeah, she always give me a big hug when I finish.
I like to tell my kids how proud they make me feel. Kids need it. Despite the fact that I've yelled at you 100 times, I do it all from a place of love. Really, what you've brought here makes me really, really proud. All right? Oh, shush. Shut up, you bastards. No. Because people are going to get wind of how good you guys are. I put on the shows because I want kids to share my passion for theatre. And I probably didn't realise how passionate I was until I got here.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7.
I found that kids didn't understand the culture of theatre, and that was something I wanted to change.
Yeah, I'm afraid so, Roxy.
Oh,
Yeah?
nobody walks out on me.
Sweetheart!
Don't sweetheart me, you sap.
I'm Sergeant Fogarty, who's the policeman. I just like acting. I would love to go to drama school. Nick's my teacher. He's just a real good guy and loves his kids and his family, and you know, he loves us, his class, so yeah, he's pretty cool. And you know, Nick makes you feel like you want to do acting more. You know, it just gets me happy, and as my parents say, they're proud to see me on stage. Other people, I guess, their parents are pretty proud of them too. It's just pretty good all round.
It makes me really happy to see kids doing well. Some of them may go through life never having had a cultural experience around theatre in any way whatsoever, and it makes me feel better that I've given people a chance to have opportunities to connect with theatre in whatever shape or form that may come. Be on stage, backstage, you know, lighting, whatever. I would hate to think that a child left school here and could have been a great performer but never had the chance.
I don't know whether I'd really call us oddball, but the coast's full of people who are a little bit different and are accepted.
Being a good husband.
Pretty sharp, eh?
Don't know about that.
I just love being here and I appreciate being here, and I'm connected to this place, so that's been a blessing for me.
You've got to keep the mind active. Still practice and I still play.
A lot of lovely people here and that sort of thing.
People here have got a different sort of attitude to life. I'm wrapped with it.